I've had a friend out in industry today ask for a little quick tutorial about how to do nice looking PDFs using Adobe InDesign for the web, and maybe also for printing as well. Of course, InDesign is awesome for both of those. And it's a bit of a trade-off here. I know that what she wants is very small, quick, downloadable, but still nice looking PDFs. And there's a sort of a balance you have to strike with that. So I'm here at the InDesign where you start up. So I've started Adobe InDesign CS6. And I'm going to go to Document, and I'm going to not do facing pages. I'm just going to do one. Letter size here is what comes up. So I'm going to have an 8.5 by 11. I have it oriented for a portrait. And I'm going to go ahead and just pull in some images that she might want to use. I'm just going to go ahead and get a few. I'm going to do what I did over here. I got the rectangle frame tool, and I pulled a square over here. I'm going to do now. Once that is on the desktop here, I'm going to do a Control D. That's to select an image, and here's an image that she might use. And of course you're not seeing it because it's a huge image. I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to go down to Fitting. I'm going to say Fit Content Proportionally, and there all of a sudden I've got this image in there, and it's a little bit smaller than the side, so I'm going to pull that in. And also I don't think I need all this white at the top of this image, so I'm going to do that. Now once I've got one in there like that, I can click on this. I can do a Control C and a Control V, and now I've got another box where I can pull another image in. Control D, I'll do that again. I'll pull this one in, and so now you see I didn't have to resize that one or anything. It looks like it's positioned maybe a little weird in the box. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this tool over here. Is called the Direct Selection tool. It's the one that's got the arrow that does not have the black inside it, and I'm going to maybe pull that. I'll probably go up here and probably trim this one a little bit. I'm going to go back to the regular selection tool. I could hit a V if I wanted to do that. I'm going to pull up and cut some white off of that one as well. I'm going to do another Control V because that's still on the desktop. Pull another picture in. See what I did there? I had the wrong tool or something selected. I'm going to Control Z to undo that. Now I'm going to click off of it and back onto it. Now I can drag it. So I'm going to do another Control D. I'm going to pull this little image of this little thing in. Once again, got a lot of white there. I clicked off and back on again just so I can make sure I get the right little handles here. You see what I'm doing? I'm grabbing the little white things in the middle when I click on these and dragging them up and down to reposition the tops of these. So now see it again. Here we go. Okay. So there I'm going to position that maybe there. Let's do another Control V and pull one more image in. Control D. We'll do the Control D and we'll get this image here. So once again, probably want to move that just a little bit like so, and that's looking decent. So I've got 4 images on here, and let's say I want to call these things something like I don't know, cable connectors or something like that, because that's sort of what we're looking at. So I'm gonna, what I did on over here to the T box, and I grabbed I clicked on it, and then I drug a box where I could put text in. I'm gonna call this CABLE CONNECTORS. I think I spelled that right. Okay, so let's make that bigger. I'm gonna do a Control A to select all of it. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to maybe make this 48. Yeah, 48 looks pretty good. 48 points. So now I have this cable connectors up here that I can drag around and do whatever I want to with that. And maybe I don't like that font. Just in case you're just a brand new to using InDesign, you don't know how to do that. It's up here at the top. Maybe I want Adobe Caslin. It's a slightly different serif font. So now I've got something that's sort of like what I want. I'm just going to kind of drag over all that, pull them into the middle a little bit, pull my cable connectors over here toward the middle. So this kind of document right here will go very well on the web. Of course, it's not very fancy. I have no drop shadows. I have nothing, no weird effects or anything. If I were to export this, I could make a very small PDF. But now, naturally, most clients are going to want to have some nice backgrounds or something behind that. One word of caution. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up. I'm going to go back over here, grab another rectangle, and I'm going to pull it across the top. Now that is right now on top of this. I want to send it to the back because I'm making a background. So I'm going to say Object Arrange, Send to Back. And now it's behind everything. I'm going to get a piece of a pixel art, not vector, but pixel art, like a photo of a background. And I've got over here on another computer screen, you can see I've actually got some backgrounds that I use. Here's Tony's Blue Granite, Tony's Cool Blue Graphic background. So I'm going to pull one of those in. I'm going to do a Control D. I'm going to pull in maybe Tony's Cool blue background. Here we go, open that up. And so now suddenly you see, well, number one, I lost my text up here. It's still there, it's just it's black. I'm going to do that and make it white for just a minute. So I'm going to go over here to swatches to do that. Swatches. And I'm going to click on all of them here so I can see paper. Paper is what I'm going to click on. And now suddenly if I click off of that, you can see I've got a white text there. Now what I've got, this graphic image here in the background, I'm going to make that fit. I'm going to right click on it as well. I'm going to say fit content to frame. Okay, so what I did do, I fit content to frame. Now I've actually got that, you know, shrunk down to a point where there's plenty of pixels there. And if I were to do a PDF of this, let's go ahead and just test that right now. This is all a pixel image in the background. It's going to take up a lot of space. It's going to make your PDF much larger. I favor, if you're going to do it for web, I favor putting I favor putting vector backgrounds behind this. So let's just go ahead and do a little sample here. I'm gonna go over to File. I'm gonna say Export, and just for the sake of doing this, since we're talking about web, let's go to smallest file size here. Now, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a PDF in here. I'm going to call it Sample 1. I say with photo background. Okay, and I'm going to hit Save. Now, you know, I favor, if you go here, the key to doing all this and making it very, very good for the web is to go down here and hit Compression. And you know, pick what size you want your pictures to be. 100 pixels per inch is pretty good for the web. The web typically is 72 pixels per inch, so you're a little better than that. You can blow up the PDF a little bit. Most people I find like about 140 or 150. I'm going to go to 140. And and what happens? It goes when you do that, it's going to jump up to images over 210. I'm going to leave that at 140. I'm going to go down here to, I've already got 150 for grayscale images. I'm not using any grayscale images, but I'm going to go ahead and say that 150 for that as well, just in case I were to be using any grayscale images. Now, you know, it has image quality low. Usually people would rather see a medium quality JPEG here. I'm going to go ahead and change it to medium. Low would look okay, but your image is going to look a little grainy when you zoom in on them. So I don't know how big this is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and hit Export and just check it and see. So what there's a whole lot of not vector but pixel imagery here. And so I'm going to see how big this turned out to be. I'm going to pull this over here. And here it is. Well, let's say in only 127K. Let's take a look at that. See how it looks. That actually doesn't look too bad, does it? So there we've used a pixel background, and we've got our images, and we're looking at it 160%. Most of the time I wouldn't think people would look at it much bigger than that. At 100%, it looks just great. And at 140 pixels per inch, that's going to print out pretty nice too. So there you go. That's sort of a setting that I might use to get a really nice looking, I mean, at no bigger than that, 127K. If you've got DSL, even dial-up, that's only going to take 7 or 8 seconds to get that to download. So it's pretty good. That's part one. That actually did better than I thought it was going to do. That background averaged out pretty well, even at medium. I'm going to delete that background. Typically, I would rather use something that is vector based, and I'm going to go here to Illustrator just for a moment. And here I've created some kind of a swirl type thing in Illustrator. I'm going to delete that for a minute. I'll show you how I did it. I open up just Adobe Illustrator. Again, this is CS6. I'm going to grab a rectangle tool or something here, over here on this side, and pull it across the whole thing. And now I could go here and try to do anything I want to with it, but I'm using some of the presets. A lot of people don't realize they've got all these awesome presets in their swatches. If you go load swatches, what I've done, if you click on this little thing right here above it, you can go down and you can say open swatch library, and then you go down here and there's all kinds of swatches that come. I went to patterns and I picked decorative and I picked the Vonster patterns, and so I've already pulled those in. Let's say I want to pull in these nature ones too, and I've never used these animal skins or anything, but Let's pull in the animal skin to see what that does. So here we actually have some animal skins. We wanted leopard skin or whatever else on here. You know, I don't know what some of these are. Then you've got those. I'm going to go back to the others that I had, which I've got over here to the right. You can just take these and pull them over here, and they'll just seat right in there. Here's the monster again. So there's a kind of a cool background. And I realize this is probably not what my friend would use, but I'm going to go ahead and do this, pull one of these. That's not the color scheme they would like, but that's easy enough to fix. You just go up here under Object. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Go to Edit and go to Edit Colors. And you can go over here and you can say Recolor Artwork. And you can do basically anything you want to with these colors. If you hit your, we've got your recolor art little button in here. You can change your hue and saturation and whatever you need to on this. You can pick different elements of those colors and do that. Let's say I wanted to do something very much more blue or whatever. Here we got to get rid of this green thing and take it more back, less saturated. Change the hue on it maybe. And the blue one here, I could, you can monkey around, see what you want to do with these. There's all kinds of ways you can do this. So there I've totally edited that piece of art, and it looks almost transparent, and it sort of is. I'm going to say OK though. I'm going to say File, Save As. And so I'm going to save this as Illustrator Design. I'll just call it Weird. Save. For some reason when I do this it makes me hit save twice. I do not know why Illustrator does this. Okay, so here we are, and I'm going to save it as an Illustrator 6 piece of art. Okay. Now I'm going to close Illustrator down here for a minute. So let's say I wanted to pull into this background back here. Do I still have it? No, I don't. I'm going to pull it back in again, another background. I'm going to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Now I'm going to do Control D, and I'm going to pull in Illustrator Design Weird, open. And so there's my weird Illustrator design. And I'm going to take that cable connector up here back to black again, so I can see it. And maybe this design is just too much. I'm going to go over here under Effects, you see it over here, and I'm going to take the opacity on this down to about, I don't know, 55. And that makes it just kind of lay in the background a whole lot, maybe even less than that. Maybe we go to 40, and then we've got this kind of a background that lays back in the back. Now, if you ever want to see it at some point how this really looks, right now, one thing you want to do, it'll show you kind of very much low quality versions of it to save computing speed and less strain on your computer. But you can go up here under View, and you go to Display Performance, and you can go to High Quality Display. And it's going to really smooth everything out. When you zoom in on it, it'll look nice and sharp. So the other thing I'm going to do for just a minute, I'm going to go over here under this. I'm going to click where it says Normal. This is your view here. I'm going to go to Preview. And I'm going to see, okay, well, look at this. My images get kind of lost in this new background. So I'm going to put some shadows behind these. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to say, actually, you can click on all of these. I'm going to click that one. I'm going to hit my Shift key. I'm going to click this one, and this one. And I'm going to go to Object. I'm going to go to Effects. I'm going to go to Drop Shadow. I never like this 75% that comes up. I like about 60. And I never like these offsets where it's at 7 points. I'm going to go ahead and take 7 pi because I like to go down to about 4. So that looks a little better to me. Maybe I'll even go to about 50% on that shadow. But now I've got all 4 of these images that have a drop shadow behind them. It's looking a little bit better. So now what I've got 4 images. I've got a vector background that's pretty complicated. And I've got this up here with nothing behind it, no drop shadows or anything. I could put an outer glow on that, I guess. I don't think it's necessary on this one. So I'm going to say File, Adobe PDF Preset, and I'm going to go back to smallest size. We're going to call this one Sample 2. Okay, save. I'm going to go back to compression. Once again, I like about 140. And 140 again. 140. 140. Once again, I realize I'm not doing anything with with grayscale, but I like to do it just to be safe. You never can tell when you're going to have a grayscale image in there and forget that you've done it. So then I'm going to change this from low to medium again. And actually, I'm betting this one might be pretty big because it is a pretty good size vector in the background, but still it shouldn't be too big. I'm going to export. Okay, it's going to tell me the document's transparency blend space doesn't match the destination color. This is true, and this can cause problems, but you're going to find out that most of the time that does not happen, particularly if they've got a fairly modern, up-to-date version of Adobe Acrobat Reader, and most people do keep their Acrobat Reader fairly up-to-date, so I'm going to say OK. And let's see how big this one comes out. So InDesign is rendering that right now. And here, if you look at this, sample 2 here is 150K. So even though I was not expecting this one with the rasterized background or the pixel background to be small, it turned out to be pretty small. It's probably because there was a lot of dark fields in it and not a whole lot of color detail. If I had a more rich, varied background, that would have been much bigger. But let's take a look at sample 2 here and see how it looks. So once again, we have the same quality for the images. The one thing you will notice, if you jump in with this, it doesn't matter how close you get, these vector images in the background stay totally sharp. That's because they're not defined by pixels, they're defined by math. I'm going to hit Control 0. So the mathematics of the computer tells it what to do and where those fields need to be. So I tend to think typically if you're going to design PDFs for the web, if you can use vector backgrounds, and there's a whole lot of ways you can go. Now you can go find vector backgrounds for free online, and sometimes they'll be huge because people don't build them efficiently. You might find 3 and 4 meg vector backgrounds. That's not going to keep you small. I would use your Illustrator, and I would create maybe gradients in Illustrator. You can do that also in Adobe InDesign. Or I would create patterns and use them from Illustrator, and they give you, like I said, a ton of patterns that you can use if you got the CS6, CS5 collection. I'm not sure what my friend might be using. The CS4, I'm sure they still have a whole bunch of cool patterns and things you can use. You can pull them in, you can edit them, you can make them soft, you can change the colors, you can change the opacity and everything in InDesign. So here, one of the things that's taking up a bit of space too on this is these drop shadows that I put in. So those drop shadows actually are pixels, and that's going to make a little bit bigger. But I'm going to say again right here, a 150K PDF is no problem on the web anymore. Years and years and years ago, that might have been cause for concern, but not anymore. Almost anybody can download that, and they'll wait a second or two while that comes up. Now, another issue, what was brought up earlier when I talked to my friend, is that somebody had told her that, that you need to have maybe outlined fonts. Let's close this up for just a second. So here we are back in our Adobe InDesign. The only reason I can think that you need outlined fonts is if you're going to go to press, because sometimes you can run into press problems, and if the font is missing or the font didn't connect the right way, you would have problems. You might want to rather than send them fonts and an InDesign file and whatever else, you would go ahead and outline these fonts. Most of the stuff that goes out on the web, Adobe InDesign creates those PDFs with embedded fonts, and they don't have to have, for instance, Adobe Caslin on their computer for that to display right. It will display right. It will embed that font into the PDF. So if the people are asking for that, I don't exactly understand why, unless they're going to go to press. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to outline the fonts on this. I've already got it selected, and I selected it, of course, here with the selection tool. I'm going to go up under Type. I'm going to do Create Outlines. And what you want to do if you do this, I would save my version that has the editable font first, because once you've done this, this becomes, I'm going to click off of it and back on. If you look at this, when I hold over this, all those little blue lines come around to show that that's actually pieces of art now. That's vector art. That is no longer font. I can't take the font or the type selector over here and click on it and change anything. It is now a piece of art, and nothing can be done with it. It can be sized up and down. It can be, colors can be changed and things, but I can't go on here if I'd spell connectors wrong and change that. So now I actually have an outlined piece of art here. I'm going to say File, Export, excuse me, Adobe preset. Now, once again, if we go with smallest file size, this will actually be just a little bit bigger than the other. Why? Because it takes a little more space to put an outlined font into a PDF than it does to just put the font. So let's see how this affects it. It should be very slight. I'm going to call this sample 3. We'll say save. Once again, same treatment I gave the other ones. Let's go 140, 140, 140, 140. 140, and I'm going to go with medium again, medium on my compression, because I want those JPEGs to look a little better than the low quality. I'm going to hit export. Once again, it's giving me that warning because it knows that it could, with older Adobe Acrobat, it could mess up a little bit with those transparencies. But here we got number 3. So number 2, which had the font in it, was 150K. Number 3, which has the font outlined, is 153K. Still a very negligible 3K, is so small. I just don't know why in the world for the web anybody would ask for outlined fonts. I would ask for outlined fonts if I were going to go to press. And let's talk about that for a minute. Let's say you're going to do a press ready. I'm sure you probably already know this, but I'm going to go File, Export. I'm going to say Press Quality. We'll call the sample for press. Save. And I seldom change anything with these compression settings. 300 pixels is usually plenty. Maximum image quality, that's what you want. The only thing you might want to do, had we drug these bleeds out to the side here, if we want this to bleed off the page and be trimmed, then we probably would have, what I could have done is pulled this background out and created a bleed on either side. The only other thing you typically would do if you're going to press is click on marks and bleeds here, and usually you do 2 clicks on this, and that's enough for everybody. That's like 0.125 of an inch, and that's almost all that anybody would need. I'm going to go ahead and do that. It'll just put white space around it because I did not pull these bleeds. I didn't pull this left to right. Let's just do it for the heck of it anyway, though. So I'm going to say export. Now let's see how big this is. Now this one still does have an outlined font up here, which is what you'd probably want going to press so that you don't have to see anybody fonts, you don't run into font issues. So sample for press is 557K. So much larger, but this actually still, you wouldn't want to use a CMYK, that goes to CMYK color, but that's still going to be not too huge to go on the web. And now we've got these images looking really sharp because they're 300 pixels per inch. Let's go to like 400%. Look at them. Really nice. That looks good. And so the shadows still look very nice and all too. Let's do Control 0. If you want a really high quality printable version for the web, you probably don't want to do press. You probably want to do the output that allows you to do high quality. Let's do Adobe. Let's do high quality print. Now, here's what I'll say about this. Let's call this sample 5 print. Okay, I'm at save. So now what happens here, they don't go to CMYK color space, they stay in RGB. 300, usually you don't need 300, and I'll tell you what, when I'm doing this kind of thing for the web, I want something that prints out nice. Usually about 180 to 200 looks pretty good. I'm going to say 180. And I did that wrong. I did 180. Okay, my bad. 180. 180. 180 prints out really good off of most printers, and people will not notice the difference unless they're just planning to blow them up to the size of a poster board or something. Of course, you don't have to do marks and bleeds if you're just making something that's going to be printed out. But you're going to find out this is now, I've got maximum image quality. I like to go back to probably high or medium. I'm going to go to high on this. I'm going to save us some space. So I've got a 180 pixel RGB, and I'm using high quality JPEG, not maximum. I'm going to say export. Let's see how big this one turns out to be. Let's pull a little folder back up here. And so here's the print one. Look, 268K. Now let's take a look at how nice this looks. This will look really good, I'm sure. So now we've got 180K. We're looking at 160. Let's go up to 220. Now your product still looks pretty nice on there. Your product photos look really good and it's still fairly sharp. If I go back to Control 0 again, look at it full full size. Actually, it's 78%. Let's look at it 100. At 100%, that looks great. You could print that off of a printer, take it to a meeting, show it to people, and they're going to say, wow, that looks good. You know, I don't know typically if I'm doing these things, if I'm going to try to squash these, use medium compression, go to 140, stuff like that. I like to give them a little bit more. 268K is not huge. If you're, of course, if you're putting these things on the web, you want web optimized images anyway, and you don't want to do this at all this way. You want to show it to them on a web page so it pops up real fast. But if you're doing a PDF that's intended to be opened up from a website, viewed and printed, you know, there's different ways you can do it here. We're ranging from no backgrounds at all, 127K, decent background. This was a raster for 150K, or maybe I'm saying it wrong. This one did have a photo background. Okay, so I'm telling it's wrong. Let's start this again. You're ranging from, once again, here, one that has a decent background, low quality images, that had, you know, medium compression, I think 140 pixels. Very small file because, of course, a whole lot of dark spaces here, which carries very little color value. We had another one here that has the piece of art behind it. Again, low quality, still not a very big. We had one here that was with outline font. One here is press quality, much larger, and one here is print quality down to 180 pixels. And I would tend to favor one like this rather than these other ones. But you can kind of go whichever way you want to. One thing you will find is you will get really great quality when you blow up things with your backgrounds, and your backgrounds will not add a whole lot to the size if you use vector. So I'll go up to like 600% here again on this. And once again, you can see that vector stuff is just beautiful. Let's go to 1200%. Once again, no no problem. This is carrying very little data for what you get there for the bang for your buck. So hopefully that helps. This might have been confusing. Hopefully not. Send me any questions you got. I'll try to answer them. Do another tutorial if I've not been clear. Thanks.